In the name of my ancestors, peace forever and always, and welcome to another edition of the Reality's Temple on Earth. Of course, I am the gatekeeper of this internet ministry, known here on YouTube and many other places. I am called the Mighty Angel Snub 7, your brother and hopefully your friend, Taalik Ibn'rad. I'd like to begin by first sending a few quick shout outs to the following persons. I begin with my assistant student AdMinister, Andre, my sister from Virginia, Brenda Kearney, brother David Brayboy, Universal Moore, my sister Fanadia, the Wacky World of O, and of course, brother Michael 13X. I have a lot to say, and I hope that you bear with me as I attempt to get through what I deem a subject very important to us. The subject that I've chosen is an attempt to answer a question that many of us speak or say perhaps almost daily, because we truly wonder, why is it so difficult that black people, the so-called Negro, the African American, why is it so difficult for black people to unite? In fact, is it possible? We want to explore this question. There was a movie they made, or it was released in 1987. It was called Shaka Zulu. And I was watching Shaka Zulu, and one of Shaka Zulu's, one of his aides was telling Shaka, the reason why the people love you, Shaka, is because you bring them reality. And according to this movie, Shaka was not impressed by religion. Shaka was not impressed by spirituality. There was only one reality that Shaka knew, and that was the reality of war. Now, I want to explain this. I want to explain myself to the best of my ability without having to break that or cross that thin line of reality and fantasy. We already suffer enough from being told fairy tales and our belief in fiction. And this fiction and these fairy tale stories have been handed down from generation to generation, that now it has become part of our reality, something that the great King Shaka rejected. So, this is the Reality's Temple on Earth. I definitely do not want to cross that line and continue this thing, this thing of belief. I thinks, and I have to believe, to try to explain what I need to explain in the most real manner that I can try to create. So the question been presented to us, why is it so hard for black people to unite? Do we like oppression? Do we love being mistreated? Has abuse become pleasurable to us? I did not ask or make a request to some God or pray to some God to reveal the answer, as clearly he or she has not assisted believers so they can find the answer to this problem that is key to the change of those called African American or Negroes. When you allow your brain to think, allow your brain to analyze without being hindered by some religious or political thought. Religious and political thoughts place your mentality into a box, into a square, into some type of confine, whereas you cannot think, like they say, outside of the box. But at the same time, you claim to be a believer in God, and God could not be God unless this God or this goddess thought outside of the box. That's why in creation, things always change. But things in a box don't change. They remain the same. So you can't be a believer in God. You cannot be a goddess. And your mind, you allow your mind to be entrapped by a certain religious idea or political idea. And when the mind is trapped, when the mind is confined, that's a clue, that's a sign that you become a slave, because a slave can only think within the confines or the boundaries, mentally and physically, of what his slave master want them to think or do. We must be careful not to become slaves. You say that you don't like being a slave. You say that being a slave is bad. But there's nothing worse than being a voluntary slave, because you've accepted your condition. And that's one of the reasons why the black man and woman in America were slaves for so long and seemed to be content, because they accepted their fate as being a slave. You had some runaways. You had those who wanted to rebel, but the slave population in and of itself made no attempt to break or relieve itself of slavery, because it accepted the boundaries. It accepted, I'm a slave. I was born a slave and I would die a slave. And that's the attitude many of y'all have out there in YouTube land or in the internet land. You think the same way. This is just the way it is. I never do no better. I just wait for massa to throw me some crumbs. I have accepted being a slave. But the creation or any God did not make you or bring you into existence to be a slave to nobody, even a slave to him or herself as being a God. If God is your father, what father wants you to be a slave to them? What mother wants you to be her slave? They want you to be free and grow up as a child of God to be better than them and expound your mind out into the heavens in this creation so that you can find and discover new things. You look into the sky and all these heavens, look at all that which you need to conquer. But right now, you're earthbound. That's why in religion, there's an obsession with going to heaven. There's an obsession with rising from the earth, ascending from the earth into the heavens, into the sky. Because being earthbound keeps you on that playing field of the average animal. The average animal, does not have the thinking capacity or capability as the human being. You're able to think outside of the box, and you're able to ascend, unlike the common beasts of the field. But humanity has fallen so low now that heaven is nothing but an obsession. It's a fairy tale, it's an idea. It's something that is wanted because you've fallen so low. You've lost your ability to fly. This, when you allow your brain to think, allow your brain to analyze, you will see that it's not just some special or divine person that has an answer for us. And then when the answer appears, when we begin to think, you can say to yourself, wow, it was always there. It's so simple. And we feel rather stupid and dumb, but that's because we don't allow ourselves to think, to analyze. That's what your brain is for. It is there to solve our problems. Black folks cannot unify, or we have problems with unification because they hold on to which they are not. I'm going to say that again for us. The reason why those called black or African American, the reason why you will never unify or you have problems with unification is because you are trying to be that which you are not. Black people, now listen to me. First of all, you are not black. This description, along with Negro and color, African American, where actually African American was something that we decided to place upon ourselves, but it's still all in the same category. These names, even black was made positive, but when we were called black and colored and Negro, all these things came from our conquerors. We did not name ourselves that. Our ancestors made being black and I'm proud something positive. But that term or the description of black came from the conqueror. And also the conqueror called the continent that our ancestors came from Africa. This continent was renamed. We were renamed as a people by the racist Caucasian Europeans. European and American. This is the ironic thing. Many of us change our names from those forced upon us. I don't want those. I'm getting rid of that slave name. So we change our names from Robert Johnson to some African name or some Arabic name or whatever. And that's good, because that name reflects and shows that you are still a slave to somebody. And it is good that you refuse and don't want to be thought of or seen as somebody's slave, especially when you call yourself free. But we get rid of the names that was forced upon us, but that's just the beginning. There are many aspects of white supremacy that you hold on to. I'll give you a quick example. I was watching a brother's video, and the brother claims black supremacy. And now he has a video, black supremacy, sex god. What the? Black supremacy, sex god. Here you are. You don't want to be the white man's slave. You got a problem with white supremacy, but you taken white supremacy and made it black, and you embrace and take on the ways of the conqueror, because he's obsessed with sex. He's obsessed with the physical. And there you go. I'm black supremacy, sex god. Woo! Oh man. And you wonder why you have not moved forward. The only thing you are doing is wallowing in the same filth that you was born into. I've never seen, and you can teach me, I've never seen no evidence to suggest our ancestors claim to be black or claim to be Africans. They were bound by nation, tribe, or some religious affiliation. They did not care about race. The racist Caucasian Europeans created the concept of race all by themselves. There was no African participation. There was no Native American participation. No person of color was involved in the creation of the concept of race. It was designed to justify their brutal treatment of non-whites and put them in the position of being supreme over darker people. It is ludicrous. It is ludicrous for us to believe that this idea that we embrace, born from white supremacy, designed to divide and make one inferior, make one enslaved, will somehow set the victim free. The question is, you've been proud to be African, you've been proud to be black for a long time. So the question is, are you free? How close have you come to truly being free? You've had successful moments. There's confusion. And many of you, you don't like being called black. You don't like being called African. So there's confusion, even just division that's caused trying to find a description for those who are the descendants of slaves born in America. Those with dark skin. You have your reasons for the rejection of saying I'm black or I'm African American or all these different terms. But the real reason is because none of these things, Hebrew, Israelite, Moor, Caucasian, all these things that we call ourselves, Christian, American, all these labels are not us. And that's why us us in this confusion should not come together anyway. You are divided and confused. You're messed up. What type of real unification are you going to have with everybody everybody's mind is rambling? In the Quran, it says that Allah is not the author of confusion. So if you think that you're going to bring something new into existence, do you think that that something new can be created with a mentality that is confused? It's not going to happen. For us to embrace what is called race, black or African, if you embrace those things, it only makes you, it makes you white supremacy's apprentice, because that's who you learned all of it from. There is no ancient black person. None of our ancestors taught us to be black or African. They did not, were in any type of ancient teachings that you claim to be from black folks when they talk about race. They did not care about none of those things. So the only thing you've done is become a student of your oppressor. And you now practice a black version of white supremacy. So even if you successfully destroy white supremacy, your problems will continue, because all you did was give color to white supremacy. You will continue, and if you look at the mentality of those who express all this blackness and Africanness, you can see that they will only continue to oppress others that they deem inferior to themselves. And this type of mentality of racial supremacy, it should be 1000% destroyed. It should not be saved. This is why you see Caucasian people nowadays, they're beginning to place dark people in more important positions, because they understand that even here in the United States, they are becoming slowly but surely the minority. At this time, the Caucasian population in this nation far outweighs non-whites. But they understand and see that slowly but surely they are going to be edged out. So in order to survive, they are making more and more efforts to place their mentality in the minds of dark people. And what is so ironic is that those who claim black power family, black power, black supremacy, you are the number one student. You are the number one vessel that voluntarily is helping them keep themselves alive. Because the reason why you say black power, the reason why you say black supremacy, is not because something that you found out your ancestors was teaching. You are getting it from your massa. You're a black power, black supremacist slave. And you are worse than any Uncle Tom. Because at least an Uncle Tom has just accepted, well, you can't beat them, join them. I love my massa. You claim not to love massa, but you have taken on his ways. You've taken on his mentality. And you don't even know it. Are you that dumb? Yes, we are. At one time, what to Hebrew Israelite teaching, or the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, or the Honorable Noble Jew Ali, and whatever we were presented, they helped us begin the process of breaking the slave mentality. If not for that, I could not be speaking to you today. But somewhere, because we did not mature, because instead of moving forward, we began to move backwards. That which was designed or created to try to help us now places us back into slavery. A slavery that is worse, because you think that you're on the path of freedom. But how long have you had these teachings? How long have you been proud to be black? How long have you been proud to be African? You're not living in Africa. You have no unification because you are practicing something that was designed to keep you divided, to keep you at odds with your fellow descendant of a slave. And look at all the debates on YouTube. Always, you don't even know why you're doing what you're doing. It was designed to keep you confused. And with all your Qurans, you have become a victim of confusion. You have become a white supremacist with dark skin. To holler black power, to holler black supremacy, to holler and claim black conscience, only is verification that you intend to stay a slave. But what you dislike is having a white oppressor or a conqueror. You feel more comfortable having a black face as an oppressor. There are those suffering right now here in 2012 under tyranny, suffering injustice, inequality. As I speak, they are considered blacks. There are many African nations, and you have black folks that murder, rape, rob, lie and steal, exploit other black folks because they also have the mind of the white supremacists. Does that make them good because they are dictators or they are wicked because they have black skin? That makes you feel better? Evil is evil. Makes no difference what the color. I don't want you to beat me. I don't want you to rape me. I don't want you to steal from me. Because you black. I'm supposed to love it. I don't believe these are happy who are black under the wicked foot of those who treat them and mistreat them. What did I say? I treat and mistreat. That's what happens when you talk too fast. I don't see people happy under mistreatment regardless of skin color. Skin color has never harmed nobody. Show me where skin color itself harmed anybody. However, when skin color represents a certain mentality, that is when your problems begin. Black folks cannot or will continue to have problems with unification, which is the key to your freedom, brothers and sisters. Because what you believe, you are. and what you have pride in was not designed to free you, but enslave. The only thing that has happened is the skin color of the massa has changed. And you should not want to be a slave, of course, to white people. And you should not want to be a slave to black people with the same type of mentality. Are you with me? Hang with me on this talk. Bring me your truth. Tell me I'm a liar. Show me. The proof is in the pudding. All your black power, all your black conscience, all your African, all this that you got. Show me where it's getting you somewhere. It is not. But you can see easily the confusion, the division, the hatred towards other black folks. Because it is the same thing. It is white supremacy with blackface. When the racist Europeans became the gods, I'm going to use this word God. And God to me is only that which has force and power. If God does not have force and power, how can they become or be God? But when the white man became the God of this world, they viewed themselves as being like Adam of the Bible. In fact, they are called Adamites, Adamaic, something to that effect in some circles. In the Bible, and I'm going to use the Bible and the Quran because that's where our mentality is at. We are spiritual. We are religious. So I want to use a little religious reference to help back up and support what I'm bringing us. Adam was given dominion of this planet. The animals, the fish of the sea, the fowl in the sky, and so forth. Mind you, that Europeans, just like Adam, renamed this planet. They called it Earth. The name Earth is more or less than 5,000 years. It's not very old. You know how old the Earth is. And people have been on this planet longer than 5,000 years or whatever. So I don't know what the ancient people called this planet, but the white folks, when they came into power, they renamed it the Earth. They also said it was flat to show you their ignorance. They didn't know no better. But they renamed the Earth. They renamed all the animals, the birds, the fish, and they renamed you, our ancestors, all over this planet. They conquered, renamed, and destroyed non-whites. They forced upon you, our people, their religion, their culture, their way of life. This, of course, I know that you will agree with. And what is so mind-boggling is that Africans call themselves Africans when they know that is not the original name of the continent. The world, listen, the world accepts the Europeans' version of time. Time. The European version of time is based upon the birth of the fictional character in their Bible called Jesus. You have to excuse me. I got a telephone ringing. It's throwing me off a little bit. I'm gonna try to ignore the telephone and let's stay on track here. Now look at this. These people change time. They change time, and the rest of the world of humanity accepts that time. Right now, the Chinese celebrate the Year of the Dragon, but that's become a novelty because time is what the Europeans who are still in power, they have determined this is what time is. It ain't the Year of no Dragon, it's 2012. Oh, these are powerful people. And you underestimate them because they have become gods. That which has force and power. You got to have a lot of power, people. Woo! You got to have a lot of power, people. When you can rename somebody, they know that's not their name, and they accept the name that you gave them. Unlike slavery, where they made Kuta Kinte except being called Toby. These Africans who are supposed to be smarter, and some of them view themselves better than the descendants of slaves born in America, look at their condition. They speak English better than many white folks. They call themselves Africans, knowing that's not what that continent was called. And Africa is made up of over 50 nations, and everybody got their own way of doing things. But I'm an African, just because you're on that continent. That's not what they are. They believe in Jesus. Some of these Africans, you see them foam at the mouth and hoop and holler, and more spiritual than the white people that gave them that religion. Because there was no Christianity practiced in Africa until there was in Africa, and the Caucasian, racist Caucasian Europeans and Americans come onto that land. And what many of us don't realize also in modern times, that many of these African nations just recently got their freedom back from the European. Many of them just had their freedom returned to them within the late 1950s. So you see why they are in bad shape. So why are you looking to Africa when they are confused? And the Quran says Allah is not the author of confusion. So you understand now why Africa is so messed up. You should understand now why we are so messed up, because we've been given confusion, and we've accepted and embraced confusion as a way of life. It is our reality, and we think that being confused, we think being mentally ill is good. We don't know no better. It is the leadership of the Caucasian people. When I'm talking about what white people did, I'm not talking about Johnny Sue and Fannie Mae, your white next door neighbors. They are just tools used by their elite who put all this into motion. Some of this was put into motion and planned years ahead of time. Y'all don't understand that. Y'all can barely make it to work on time. White folks, those who are smart, they make plans. And it takes years, maybe generations to put into motion. That's how they do things. So when it all falls down, you're just born into it, and it's just a part of your life. Somebody else, generations, maybe hundreds of years ago, designed it to be exactly like this. Keeping you an inferior and keeping their chosen people. Because they are gods, and these are the chosen of this God to keep them on top. But the Caucasian people in leadership, and you will never see them on YouTube. You will never see them in the presidency, but they control the presidency. They control all the aspects of this society and life. You think you know who they are, but you don't. Just like God. When has this God revealed himself or herself to you? Never. So if these Caucasian people in power have become gods, do you really think they are going to reveal themselves to you? You have no idea who they are. You just point fingers. Oh, they the Rockefellers. They this rich white family. The DuPonts or whatever. Is it that easy? When you look at your religion, is it that easy to track down a God? You little fellas? It ain't that easy. But when you understand how Godship really works, then you can become a God yourself and deal with this power. But you can't deal with it. You become a black version of white supremacy that the gods of this world created. And you just so happy. Oh, it's just amazing. You just so happy. And you think you know some great wisdom. Highly educated, highly intelligent slave. A slave exists only to benefit his master. And since you refuse to unify with other descendants of slaves born in America, the only beneficiary of your activity, black power, black conscience, is the conqueror, because you are a slave. And I know you don't like what I'm saying. I could care less. But it's time. The time has come for you to wake up out of your second slumber. You put your dang self to sleep. Time to wake up again. And this time, when you get to moving, you're not going to be going backwards. It's all the way forward. When you launch off the launching pad, it's all the way up. You're not going to explode in the sky. Next step, your own godhood, to conquer that which you was created to conquer, all of that which you see. These people holding you down ain't nothing. You're holding yourself down because you don't understand who you are really. You don't understand that which is keeping you held down to this earth or on an earthly plane. These racist European Caucasian people in power, you think they are still living in some cave. They are beyond the cave. They have become a very smart and intelligent cave dweller. They still have the barbarian mentality, but they learn how to make their victims fall in love with them. Or their victims carry on their mentality of which you, with a smile on your face, that's what you happily do. So even if they themselves are destroyed for some reason or made to flee, they will continue to live in another body. It sort of reminds you of the invasion of the body snatchers. This is why black people can't unite. This is why you, who are the chosen, and we're going to talk about you and us being the chosen people. This is why you can't progress, because you can't take this slave mentality. You can't take this filth that you've gotten wallowing in this mud. You can't take this into a brand new house. Are you following me? Out of emotion. And when one becomes emotional, emotion hinders the ability to think clearly. Now I'll tell you something else. Sex. See, sex is very powerful. Emotion and keeping sex on your mind all the time, it hinders rational thinking. It hinders the ability to think clear. It reminds you of an electric line. But if you put something on the line, it can cause interference where you're not getting your proper voltage. Brothers and sisters, we have a connection to the universe. And the conductor is your brain. Your brain, my brain, it was designed to solve all your problems. But it cannot solve your problems if there is something that is clogging up the pipeline. So, I'm not saying that being a black Moor or a Hebrew Israelite or being a Commission, or, a Kemet or a black Muslim, I'm not saying that all these things are bad are bad things. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that they were part of a connection to help us rise. And now there's a backup in the pipeline. So we're not getting proper water pressure. And water in religion is represented or a symbol of wisdom. We're not getting the wisdom. We're not getting the proper understanding that we should, because our minds are clogged up in emotion. And we become sexually obsessed like our oppressors. It hinders our ability to think clear. So out of emotion, we call the white man, a Caucasian, we call them crackers, devils, Satan, and all these other infantile and fictional names. When in reality, and you have underestimated that you're dealing with gods. Haven't they given themselves the power of a god? Just like the God gave the power to Adam. When gods come into power, they don't worship other gods, nor do they want anything left behind by another power. Whether it is good or bad, they don't want it. So each time that the European racist Caucasian people conquered any dark folks, they destroyed their libraries. They destroyed the sources of knowledge. They murdered anybody living that was capable of carrying that knowledge. Because what they could not destroy, they took claim as the author or the creator. So this is why you see an obsession by many Caucasian people, or those who claim to be Caucasians on YouTube. They are obsessed with trying to paint ancient civilizations with great accomplishments as Caucasian, when common sense tells us that these ancients were not Caucasian. Regardless, they were of people of color. They don't even know why. They just obsessed. Oh, ancient Egypt was white. So-and-so, no, they white. They don't want you to claim nobody. They know that you are lost people. They know the only thing you want to do is try to find where you come from. But you're supposed to accept what they tell you where you came from. See, that's the problem. They have a slave master mentality. They have a God complex. They don't even know why. They just think they just arguing. No, these white folks, Billy Bob and Little Jane, your best friend, they don't even know. They have been conditioned to believe they are gods. They have been conditioned to believe and feel that they are the ultimate authority. And when you are the ultimate authority, anything any dark people bring got to be wrong. No other God shall stand before me. So they get angry at you because you and me, the so-called African American, the Negro, we belong to them. How dare you, slave? I tell you, ancient Egypt was white. How dare you say otherwise? A God complex, slave master mentality. Then they'll turn around and tell you, I'm not racist. What you think that is? Because if you notice, they only want to claim great, what many might consider great civilizations. They're not running around trying to claim mediocre places. Only the greatest, because I'm the God of this world. It's all because of me. You Negroes have never been anything except my slave. How dare you claim Egypt? How dare you claim whatever they be arguing about all the time? You a slave. That's the only thing you ever been. If it was possible to clearly make such claim, or just utterly destroy all traces of Egypt or any of these other places that they put on a pedestal, they would have done so. The racist Caucasian people, if it was possible to destroy all traces of Egypt and all these other ancient places, they would have done so. But also, it is an advantage to claim something so great so that you can further support the mentality of white supremacy. These, and some of them realize, but like I say, they've been conditioned to think that way. But they have become, these are a mentally sick people. But my talk is not really about them. My talk is about their sickness influencing us. And we have been raised up in this sick society for over 400 years. So it should not be a shock to you. It should not be a shock to me that we suffer like this. It should not be a shock or surprise that these who have been oppressed, we've fallen in love or comfortable with abuse and oppression, or we've fallen in love with our fantasy fictional idea that because we holler black power, I'm black conscious, I represent black supremacy, we think I'm a Hebrew Israelite, I'm a black Muslim, I'm black, I'm an African this, whatever. You think that because you say these things that you are not a slave. You become a worse slave because it's voluntary slavery. You and I, to embrace these ideas that come from the conqueror, we become a worse slave than our forefathers because they knew they were not black. They knew they were not African. We've accepted, and this what we express is reactionary to being and living under a white supremacist society, and our information comes to us in pieces. And because it comes to us in pieces, because there's truth in all things, but because it's in pieces, and we have not matured enough to how to put the puzzle together. It's all part of a puzzle, brothers and sisters. You got to put the puzzle together. And when you begin to put the pieces of the puzzle together, you suddenly will find yourself unified. But right now, everybody got their own piece. You can't have my piece. So the puzzle cannot be put together, cannot be formed. Hold on. We're going to part 2. Hold on. So what is the first step that we must do in order to begin the process of waking up for the second time? The first time we were put to sleep by a vicious conqueror. The second time we put ourselves to sleep. A double whammy. We must now wake up. And this time we must stay awakened. So what I'm basically saying, simply, we must rid ourselves and stop viewing ourselves or describing ourselves as black or African or any label of this world that has an inevitable fate with doom, as arrogant and wicked nations prior to it shall experience. To choose not to leave this nation or its mentality guarantees your destruction with those who have caused their own demise. And this is what they want. This is what your conqueror wants. They want you, they want us to suffer the same fate with them. When that destruction, when that demise, it is for them, not us. We have not earned what religion calls hellfire. So the question arises, well, brother, if we are not black, if we are not African, if we are none of these other labels that you talk about, then what are we, or what have we become? I want you to hear me out as I continue this talk, then come to your own conclusion. We are of the original peoples of this planet. Many of y'all will agree on that. Just so happened they had dark skin. Prior to these other so-called races or human species of persons, these original people existed thousands, if not millions of years. Many claim that these were holy and righteous persons living in some sort of utopia, living in some sort of heaven on earth. Now, there is no evidence, to my knowledge, nor sign that exists today from the descendants of these persons to show that this was reality, something that was actually happening. I have not seen any signs. There is no records, no written records of or sign of people, their descendants showing this living today or within any other time period. Now, you cannot get apple juice from an orange. No matter how hard you try, you can't do that. If these people, if these persons were truly of a holy or a righteous nature, that's religious terms, how could they eventually produce anarchy and from their DNA produce a human being? And that human being would be the Caucasian people. Another person that will physically make manifest their unholiness and unrighteousness according to religious teachings. How is this possible? If that was not in them, how could they create something like that from their DNA? Now, in nature, either you adapt or change with your environment, or you become extinct. And this is just a theory, a hypothesis. It is possible that within the DNA of an ancient black people, I'm going to say black, not because they were black or called themselves black, but that's what we know. So I'm going to say black or original peoples. Within the DNA of an ancient people, a survival mode was triggered, and a process began to save this human species, as to continue the present course would prove its demise. So the original people had to die, not physically, but what they were. They had to die. In nature, Of course, to die means loss of life. But death also brings about the means of to secure or a betterment of the life of that species. For example, if you study lobsters and crocodiles and turtles, now, of course, they eventually die. But these animals live a very, very long time. But after millions and millions of years, the reason why they live a long time like that is because there is no improvement of the model. The turtle is the same way they were a few million years ago, along with the crocodile and lobsters. The purpose of death, we might not like it, but in this life, the purpose of death is to remove the old so something better or an improved model can appear. The human being that you see today should be, we don't act like it, but we are a more improved model than human beings if you went down and studied our lineage. Death in this life or in nature is used to improve the species. So now, if this is true, the original people had to die. All that was them, whether it was good or bad, it had to be destroyed. Before I continue now, I don't wish my talk to be turned into the usual fictional fantasy-like propaganda that you find in religious teaching. I don't want to do that. I want to try to keep this as real as possible, to try to give us an understanding of what could have happened, even though, and see, religious teachers actually back what I'm saying, but I'm trying to bring it to us in a more realistic point of view. And that's our problem, is that we have embraced fantasy and fiction for so long that we think that fiction and fantasy is real. So I want to be careful. This is the Reality's temple. I don't want to bring nothing fantasy and fictional here. Otherwise, I'm defeating the purpose of this ministry. I want you to try to understand what I'm saying to you. Open up your mind. Unclog the pipeline. You're not just listening to me. The universe is speaking to you through me, but it's in you. Everything that I'm telling us is already in you. I'm not telling us nothing new. But we lack maturity and we lack reality. So I love you, King Shaka. Why do you love King Shaka? Because King Shaka brings reality to the people. I want you to view what I'm saying. It's very difficult because we've been entrenched in fantasy things. That's why we have to believe in God. Believe in Jesus. Believe. Always we got to believe in something. We should know something. This is a theory. This is a hypothesis. This because I'm not there. I really don't know. but we want to try to make it real according to what we know, not what we believe. And this is the situation that you find in our reality in nature. I want you to view this from a real and natural situation that can occur in any life form. It just so happened that the human being is of a high intelligence sometimes. All right. This has nothing to do with skin color. I'm trying to explain a process that happens daily in the natural world. I am also sure, because we are hung up on race, that those who believe they are not part of the original people will become upset due to how they find themselves or their role in this process. However, all came from the original people. And now I feel a process has begun to return all back to the original. A clue to this might be the statement in religion, whereas one must be born again. Of course, you can't return to your mother's womb, but a species can revert back to what it once was. And if born again, the results will be different. It makes no sense to be born again just to become or just to continue the problems that messed you up to begin with. In order to rid itself, or in order to rid humanity of these defects and these flaws within us, the original people was made to die. I wish to declare that the so-called African American, the Negro, the colored, the coon, the shine, whatever name that somebody has put on us, we are the byproducts of this process. We are, in religion, we are the first ones to be raised from the dead. We are the first ones to be born again. The African American are the catalysts, the Adams and the Eves, more than one. We, not brother so-and-so because he's a messenger of God, or so-and-so because it's us. The African American, the descendants of slaves born in America, we are the Adams. We are the Eves of a brand new existence for the human being. We are of the original people, now being brought from death to life. In fact, we died 2 times. Our ancestors allowed themselves, or nature caused this human species to die and sacrifice not just their sons, but their daughters, so that this human species could survive or be saved. In religion, the people are looking for an individual. But I'm telling us that your Christ, that your Muhammad, all these figures is a people. is the birth of new gods, a new time, a new era. An entire people, not individuals. I want to explain this as quick as possible in 3 steps. First step. The first step in the process was to steal us away from the original people. And we were stripped of all the knowledge of that place that they call Africa. And the knowledge that we were given was given to us by the new gods, or the conquerors, or the oppressors. So we know nothing of our original ancestry. We can only guess. We can only assume. We can only try to learn. There was a reason for this. The sons and daughters of these original people were made to experience slavery for over 300 years, a living hell. Now, hell, back in ancient times, hell was represented by cold, because the ancient people saw death and the loss of life when the weather turned cold. Heat or spring, the ancient people viewed as life-giving. But due to a popular book called Dante's Inferno, of which the church incorporated that idea or concept and placed it into the biblical teachings or in religion, hell went from being cold to being hot. So hell in modern times represents fire or heat. Fire is used to cook. So the question I ask of nature, of the creation, what you cooking, God? Why you place these children of the original people in this pot? A melting pot for others, but a cooking pot. We suffering getting severely boiled. What you cooking, God? What you cooking, nature? I'm cooking a people to place on a new dinner table, because I'm tired of the old menu. I'm done with it. It's no longer pleasant. I'm using fire. When you get a wound, because these who have been in the fire are also wounded in the head. Fire is used to sterilize. And the heat from a fever or from fire helps to fight off disease and illness. The experience of slavery is preparing the seed of the original people to become something new, void of sickness and the defects that plague the original people or persons. Heat cures metal and makes metal strong and durable. From heat comes pressure. And this combination can take something like a piece of coal and produce diamonds. And you heard Malcolm X talk about us and compare the black man and woman of America to diamonds. Because we've been through hella pressure. And this is what you are, black man and woman. You don't see it yet. I don't see it yet. And the people of the earth don't see it yet. But you and I, we are diamonds in the rough. But now we must be unearthed. Listen, you must be unearthed from this grave that we've been placed into. And we must be shined. And we must be polished. And then set into beautiful jewelry. You see signs of it when you see those who accepted the teachings of Elijah Muhammad. You're seeing signs of it. Those of us who accepted the Hebrew Israelite teachings, Yahweh being Yahweh, you're seeing signs of it in all these things, even in Christian religion. You're seeing signs of the beautiful people we are. But because of confusion, we have yet to unearth ourselves, to place ourselves in the position to be cut and then to be polished and to become that shining diamond that people are willing to die and fight over. You don't know it. But when you, black man and woman of America, we finally get ourselves together, and you can, they'll be fighting over you. They will be giving you the honor that they would have given the original people of this planet. The return of mama, the return of daddy back to the house. That's what you represent. But now mama and daddy don't have the flaws, don't have the weaknesses that they once did. And now you're putting yourself in a position that not only you don't have to no longer talk about being God or goddesses. You can be about it and show your power and show your force. Man. Woo! I love it. If you think about it for yourself, outside the confines of these slavery teachings, whether they be black or white. This message is for us. And it's not to put anybody else down. But this is our mission. Everybody can't be President Obama. You can be jealous. You can be envious. But becoming the president, that was his fate. This is our fate. To be the perfect example, the best example of what a human being can become. Or we can reject this great reward that has been given to us, and we can become the greatest embarrassment and the worst. And I don't see how it can get worse that the human being can become. And it's sad you having all this brain power and you can't do no better. You look and we look. We were made and we are in the image of the original people, the original gods of this planet. I don't want us to get spooky. I'm just using God. God is only that which has force and power. And at the time, that's all that existed were the original people. They determined their own destiny. Unlike the Caucasian people, when they came into power, they influenced and they determined the destiny of others. Like they determined our destiny in America. Black man and woman, the descendants of slaves in America, We look like or in the image of the original people, but we are no longer of them. This is why we look so silly trying to be something of the past when we have gone through this hell because we are of the future. We are the shepherds of humanity. We are the Christ to show humanity where it needs to go. Not one person. We are a people that has been raised from the dead. We look so dumb, trying to dress like ancient people, people who don't exist anymore, or Arabs. But I understand why we do this, because we were robbed of the knowledge of self. So we're trying to find an identity, but have yet to do so as a people. You have this group of so-called blacks doing this one doing that. There is no identity. There is confusion. There is an identity crisis. And none of these belong to you. You have your own label. You don't have to borrow. You don't have to steal the identity of nobody. And to this point, you will have the greatest identity of them all. If you understand, if you mature your mind, understand who you are and what you represent in this process of improvement, not of black people, an improvement of the human species. Then we're trying to find our identity. You have silly people who get angry because they don't like you to make claims, to lay claims to something they want. That's too good for you, Negro. You ain't no Egyptian. You ain't this, you ain't that, if it's good. They don't argue with you when you want to be a pimp, a prostitute, a drug dealer, and all these other foul things. But when you try to seek somewhere where you can belong so you can be proud of, that ain't you. They don't want us to have nothing. That's why we should seek our own identity and be proud of who we are. You just don't know what you're capable of because you've chained yourself down. You've allowed yourself to be enslaved. I would tell you what has happened. A caterpillar is considered an ugly insect, an ugly bug. It is greedy. It spends all day eating leaves. At this stage of our development, the so-called Negro, the African American, the Hebrew Israelite, whatever you want to call yourself, at this stage, we are seen like the caterpillar, lazy, trifling, good for nothing. Just have babies forever, whatever, drunkards. That's how we're seen. Something to exploit. But the caterpillar comes to the point in time where it begins to spin a cocoon. And it goes through a change. a metamorphosis. And then out from the cocoon emerges a butterfly. And the butterfly is considered beautiful, breathtaking. And the butterfly, unlike the caterpillar, is able to fly. It is not held down by gravity. But if you didn't know any better, you wouldn't know that the butterfly and the caterpillar are the same creature. I suggest to us that the so-called African American, the so-called Negro, we've gone and going through the same process like the caterpillar. The cocoon that we were placed into was called slavery. And now we are slowly emerging to become that butterfly. But yet, we are our own individual, coming from the original, of whom, like the caterpillar and the butterfly, we are one and the same. It is not for us to be black or African. We are to become that which is new. And until you explore that which makes you new, you will continue to stay in the cocoon and be a slave to somebody, to some God, some person, some animal maybe, but a slave nonetheless. The butterfly represents the ability to fly or ascend into the sky or ascend into the heavens. Religion is obsessed with people wishing to go to heaven, wishing the ability to fly into space so they can meet their creator. There's a need for the human being to leave the earth. The racist Caucasian people try very hard to explore and conquer space. They want to go out into the heavens. But unfortunately, according to the Muslim book of scriptures called the Holy Quran, it says that before Allah destroys a nation or destroys the wicked, he gives them a peek into the heavens. Let you go a certain way, and then he destroys you. Wow, that's sort of cruel, don't you think? To tease somebody like that? It's just like when a female teases a male with a kiss, then when you try to get the kiss, then she slaps you. I guess you didn't do something to earn the kiss, I guess. I cannot tell you the name or description of who we are or who we are to become. If we allow ourselves to participate in this process, it will come. You don't have to go find it. It'll find you. It's always here. Been here for a long time. But our immaturity and our misunderstanding of who we really are makes it so that it cannot come out. You hinder your development by holding on to things of the past or things of the conquerors when you should be looking toward the future, not seeking to return back to the past, a past that will never return. Do you think that which is of old will be allowed into the house of something new? Many of y'all, you know how it is when you move into a new house. Most times, you don't want nothing old in the new house. You don't want your children bringing mud and tracking up your old house. This is something new. This is something that you cherish, that which is new. You don't want to foul that which is new. So we must stop being stuck in the past, trying to be somebody you've never known, that no longer exists, or adopt a lifestyle based on something in this society that you claim oppress you, or something that somebody is saying that you stole from them. You don't need nothing from somebody else. Everything you need, just like the butterfly. Everything the butterfly needs, everything that the caterpillar needs, everything that any life form needs is given to you upon your existence. You don't need nothing from white folks. You don't need nothing from so-and-so history. Everything that you need is going to come from you. Everything you need. You don't have to copy nobody. In fact, when we come into our correct state of mind, all these who have oppressed you, all of them will fall down at your knees. We've already seen signs of it in our history. But they will, not because we're special, we're superior, because finally they will see that's the type of human being I really want to be. They will follow you. And they will follow us as they did the original people of the past. The destiny of the human family is to return from whence they came. That's another video. And I know some folks don't like it, but you see signs of these things in nature. And I'm trying to show us from a realistic, natural point of view how life changes. In religion, we are taught that God plans to bring a new heaven and a new earth, and the former things will pass away. We must allow all of our current religious and political ideas to pass away from your mind. It is the only way that which is new can appear. We should not be looking for some special individual. The answer is within an entire people. made for the task of bringing that which is new. New doesn't necessarily mean brand new. A car can be new, but made from recycled parts from a Model T. But of course, we're not driving Model Ts. We're looking for improvement. We're not talking about going back to the past. We're not talking about driving Model Ts and riding camels. But we want a brand new car that don't pollute the water, don't pollute the air. We want something new. It doesn't mean we forget the old. It means we must set in motion and place into power a new world so we can gather knowledge. It is the best of knowledge, not tainted by any type of racial supremacy of any kind. Religion teaches that the kingdom of heaven is in you, not just some special divine individual. You need to learn, brothers and sisters, you as an individual. Open up your mind. Let yourself think. You have a lot of contribution. Some people have more to contribute than others. What is your contribution? Not just following some divine person, some special person. I'm not special. I don't say nothing special. I'm trying to get us, whether I'm right or wrong, I'm trying to pick at your brain so you can think for yourself and break these shackles of these religious and political thinking that has done nothing for us. What has these done for you lately? Nothing, except kept you a slave. Either slave to white folks or slave to some black face. Why are black folks obsessed with following people, being placed in a slave-like position, wanting to worship something? Until these issues are dealt with, a people destined to become butterflies will remain caterpillars. You will remain grounded to this world. And this world, many of you will agree, it's on its way out. So in conclusion, speaking, and I want to speak to all these fake and hypocritical type people that they claim they wish to be free. You talk all this black power, black conscious stuff, but you don't even have the spirit of a runaway slave. Because a runaway slave ran away. They didn't care where they had to go. They just knew they had to get the hell out of here. I don't see none of you making no effort to run away. I see no effort with all this black conscience, all this black power stuff y'all talking. I see no effort to leave the slave master's plantation. You spend your money on large meetings, get together and really talk about nothing that has helped us. You want to go visit places. Let us go to Egypt. For what? You're going to spend all this money going to Egypt to visit. You can't even read what they call hieroglyphics. How you say? You can't read it. We're so emotional over this stuff. And where has it gotten or getting you? Nowhere. All your money, everything that you're doing, still go back to the people that you claim you don't like. All your money. The black man and woman of America, we are the only oppressed people that have access to the conqueror. We have access to billions of dollars. We have positions in the conqueror society that we don't take advantage of. Man, I guarantee you they would love to be past revolutionaries, would love to be in the position of the so-called Negro of America. You can't accomplish nothing until you let go of the past and let it pass away. I'm not saying forget it. I'm not saying forget your ancestry. First of all, you got to find your ancestry. All this I think and believe, you can come to some type of conclusion once we get rid of these things that taint and have tainted history. And let us view history whether it is good for us or it makes us look bad. You have to let it go. Establish your own identity. Start thinking for yourself. Then we can form a cocoon and begin this great transformation to turn into the butterfly and fly into the heavens. Don't you want to go to heaven? I'm not talking about fiction or fantasy. A heaven that you make on earth and that you would extend out into these high places. Do you really want to know what's out there? You really don't even know what's down here yet. There is a gift for you and me. Many others, they want your place. They have tried to do the job that we've been created for. They have failed. In fact, they become corrupt. They become part of the problem instead of part of the solution. But let me say this in conclusion, that time waits for no one. Since this is not about race. Because race, you keep holding on to race. That's a concept that was created solely by your oppressors. And you want to keep it alive. You should be ashamed of yourself. But you don't know no better. But now you do. Once you break the shackles of white supremacy and black supremacy, because they both the same. We should be seeking freedom, justice, and equality, and that has no color. And you should want to become God so you can secure the happiness of all the human family. And nature will take care of itself. I'm very sure that humanity, regardless of skin color, we should be tired of the constant warmongering, murder, rape, pedophilia, the lies, deceit, jealousy, envy, classism, gender bias. And I could go on and on. You should be sick of it. You should be ready for a change. Not for the change that Obama was calling for. Just a change to make the same old boys club better. We don't want that. You want to represent and be somebody different. You want to be something new. You want to be, like the Christians say, you want to be like Christ. And you want to be like Bilal in the Quran. You want to be like him that call others to prayer. Oh, wow. Woo! It's us. Not being somebody special. Because we went to the school of hell to qualify for this position. And you should be so happy to graduate because you've been through 400 years and have earned your degree. Accept your gift, black man and woman of America. Let us choose not to no longer be caterpillars and eating ourselves to death. being pigs and swine, wallowing in the mud of this society, in this world, because it's on its way out. And it can take all of humanity out with it. But we are the creation's mercy. And you are taught in religion how merciful God is. We are God's mercy on this human species. Let us do better. Think about what I'm saying to us. It's in us. The kingdom of heaven is in you, the scripture says. It's not in the sky. It's in you. Because you will build the kingdom with your hands. The hands, they say, are lazy and trifling, but you built a nation that became a world power that changed time, that renamed the animals, the fish of the sea, the fowl of the sky, and the very people themselves. It's a wonderful time. But like the scriptures also say, it can be very dreadful. Let us seek to make it as peaceful and this change less dreadful as possible. Stand up, brothers and sisters. It's your time. Embrace your gift. But share your gift. And be fair. And be just. And be humble. So that we can save this human species that has for thousands of years traveled a path of self-destruction. Thank you for listening, brothers and sisters, friends and family and guests and even enemies. Thank you for listening. This is your brother Taalik Ibn'rad. Jot down your comments. Please feel free to join me on dailymotion.com, vimeo.com, MySpace, here on YouTube, of course, and be sure to friend the Realities Temple on Facebook. Let's have a conversation about this. Let's talk. And let's get it together. All of us, no matter what your race is, all of us, humanity, we are too smart of a life form to continue on this path. We can do better. Let us do better. Peace forever and always, and respect you.